What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. It's your boy dGon here alongside Yamato and Jamada as we cover the end of the playoffs for the LEC, the LPL, the LCK, and LCS. Also, the only time we'll touch on it today. Congratulations to Dplus Gaming and Team Secret Whales. There we go. I got there for the LCP. We'll see you guys at MSI. Hope you enjoy your trip to Korea. Yeah, Dplus Gaming fought off a reverse sweep by GAM Esports. Unlike the team that we're about to talk about right now, and everything is on fire with Dplus KIA, who fell in a reverse sweep tragic fashion against KT. Let's dive into it. So just this past weekend, after crushing Hanjin Briand 3-0, Dplus KIA were 2-0 up on KT Rolster, who did not look up for the challenge and somehow threw the series away. And they will not be going to road to MSI. They don't have a chance to go to MSI itself. They will be at EWC as the third place qualifier. And there's no possible way for KT to place first in the road to MSI, so therefore it will be Dplus going. But guys, this was another big throw by Dplus. This one hurting even more because aiming is on the opposite side, aiming on the team last year, part of that blitz hook, smolder hook kind of thing in game 5. This time they had 3 attempts to close out KT and failed to do so. After that, there's a press conference where cvMax goes on there and uses unsavory language to describe the series, which was...
Quote him.
It was... okay, I gotta quote it. Let me find it. I gotta find it.
Oh, don't take too long. Come on. Get it out, dGon. Get it out.
It had the word fondling in the post-game interview, and he did a thing with his hands as well in the video. So, yes. All that happened. Disciplinary action came out by Dplus KIA, of course. What does that mean? Who knows? Because cvMax has been doing this forever. But Dplus are a little bit on fire here. Yamato, get in there. What did you make of this, and what do you do with Dplus KIA?
It's ridiculous. I think the most painful thing about Dplus, I think all of us wouldn't care if they wouldn't show like very high level of elements within certain aspect of their game. There's just such a clear lack of I feel like we've been here so many times where they make it to a game 5. Like even when they played against I remember against T1 last year when they had aiming, like they made it to a game 5, they couldn't close it out. In terms of like the early game, in terms of their lane phase, they looked way better than KT. I think in terms of what this team has been post like the first round robin before they met Hawa Life, this team has been low-key kind of soulless. And then here in this match, the way Dplus play out their leads, it's exactly cvMax played. It's just all foreplay that doesn't lead to anywhere, Just in terms of how they progress, there's no push and pull on the Nashor. They allow the enemy to farm. They allow the enemy to stabilize when in reality, you need to just bait the enemy out. I think there was a specific moment I remember, like in the Jax game, where Siwoo was trying to like undermine them through mid and just lost all of his HP, died ahead of a Drake that just created chaos that wasn't necessary. It's as if they never let their leads kind of play out at themselves, because even game 1 and 2, I think KT just played too fast. It's as if KT was like, yo, let's just let them int and see where we go with that. And they slowed down a lot too, which made it looked like it was a lot more uncomfortable for Dplus to play. Just too little push and pull. And then finally, when they get to like the elder situations, they just need to actually control the right space. and find the right angles to turn, because Cuz could just always like walk in and and get the Elder Smite, and that's all she wrote. It's just Dplus in terms of converting their leads. It's as if everyone on the team, except maybe like Showmaker, maybe Smash. I feel like Lucid, honestly, and Siwoo are the two biggest criminals in this department. It seems as if they want to end the game, but they want to do it in their own way, and that's where everyone just kind of pulls apart from one another. It was a ludicrous display. Like I couldn't believe it. And we've seen worse. Let's be honest. We've seen worse from KT's truly their own as well. We've seen worse, because this was like nothing happened, bad progression, and then an Elder Steal into game collapse. Uh, we've seen worse where there had to be like 10 sequences of mistakes happen in a row for that to occur. I will never forget that KT versus T1 game.
Yep.
Because that was the ultimate freak. So I just want to bring memory back, because people called this like the worst throw of all time. I've seen worse. We've seen worse.
Yes, but for me, it's the fact that it happened in the best of 5 up 2-0, and it was similar kind of get early game leads, choke it out. It was 11,000 gold lead in game 4. In game 5, they stacked the Drakes. They had all the Drakes, and it just felt like they didn't know what to do. And I'm glad you brought up Siwoo and Lucid, because Showmaker has his world championship to rest on. He's had some bigger moments, but since Siwoo and Lucid have come in and they've done well, they've won their Rookie of the Year awards, both of them. They have the Rookie of the Year candidate again in career. Their big moments have been these big collapses, these heartbreaking moments where they're not able to rise to the occasion and finally get the payoff into a standing that feels good, right? It's, oh, here's the one where we need to go to Worlds, we fall short. Here's the one where we can be top 2 and go to first stand, we lose to B&K FearX. Here's the one where we can go play in front of the thousands of fans in the live event. We're up 2-0 and they collapse. And I'm just starting to worry for these young guys who are being coached by cvMax. It's not going to work out here, Jamada. What do you make of it?
First off, I want to congratulate Mr. Lamont for his brand new, what was it, unicorn? Whatever the bet was. Fantastic ultimate from you, bro. Yeah, I don't know. If cvMax is the evil guy that the broader community believes him to be, Siwoo needs to go into hiding. Because I think Siwoo was the big criminal, like you spoke about Lucid and Siwoo, but like, listen, Lucid is maybe getting 5 years. Siwoo is on track for a life sentence this series. Like whether it was like Jax getting caught or the Ambessa, bro. You can't get scooped by Azir when you have Ambessa R and you're looking for. Just press the button so you can't get scooped, man. It's a bit mind-boggling. I don't know. It's as if aiming's essence was seemingly transfer. Like aiming was doing his best to not make it to the next round for KT anyway, but it's like his essence transferred directly from himself to DK after game 3 or after game 2. It was just very bizarre. It felt like we watched the same game of League of Legends 5 times effectively, to differing levels of DK getting a lead, but the final 3 they couldn't close them out. I think a lot of it had to do not per se with the draft, as in the draft was bad from a negative connotation, but when you look at game 1-2 versus 3-4, the tools that they actually had to progress the game and close out the game on their terms, I think were a lot easier to execute compared to 3 and 4. That said, they still had massive leads that they should close out on regardless. So I don't know. Very, very bizarre set of circumstances for DK when KT it didn't even really feel like KT showed up to play for a majority of the series. So I don't know. I was sat there screwing more, thinking about how last episode I was like, yeah, KT are gonna lose. They have aiming, and then they reverse sweep in the most, like, if you're a DK fan, tragic way of all time. I don't know. And as for the cvMax stuff, I feel like it's another culture diff thing, where like low key, I feel like if a coach says that in the LCS or the LEC, they probably get away with it. I know there was a lot of discourse about it because like so many people have been getting fined lately, right? Bin, Jojo as well. Bin, I think that stuff was contractual, like you have to do the fan obligation stuff, like the high five stuff, and then I didn't check if there was other things that he failed to meet the criteria of to receive that fine. Um, as for the Jojo thing, silly, but cvMax getting his disciplinary, yeah, man, the series was basically foreplay with no happy ending. I agree with him. He was correct.
You can't fucking do that. You can't say that, man.
Listen, I'm gonna point out if someone's telling the truth. cvMax was telling the truth. Like he paid for it with disciplinary action and a media training session or course or whatever he's got to take now. I'd feel the exact same way, honestly. Like, can't sit there as a coach and watch your team. You would be screwed. You sit there, you watch your team throw 3 games back to back like that. You should be going to top 3 off the back of like KT not showing up. I think if anything, if what we allegedly know about cvMax, this was relatively tame. For what it could have been. For what it could have been.
I thought it was just funny. I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny shit too. Yeah.
I agree with the cultural point. Like, I do think like in the West you'd get away with it. Like if you look at the whole the whole press conference too, like he's clearly like it's tough because these interviews happen right after you lose. Right after you reverse swept. Here's a press conference. You can see that he is just in a stream of thoughts because he's like going all over the place with what he's saying, and that's understandable. It's very, very understandable. But I don't know. It's like one of those things where I start to think. Like I'm trying to frame like cvMax's like coaching history and what went down, you know, and try to think back to like the Griffin days of the BO5s going bad, you know, always, no matter how good things looked. Stubbornness in those moments. I don't know if there's a correlation, but I would have to think about it a little bit more. I would need to check what happened in the in-between too, you know, like his DRX time as well. But it's just painful. Painful because KT makes it too. I don't think KT belongs. KT's gonna get blasted like Jesse and James in Pokemon. Just gone. Just completely gone. 3-0 the next matchup.
I agree. As long as there's not a Caitlyn trap for Chovy to step in front of Dragon Pit, like I think we're good. Like I think it's fine.
I will say that they experienced that already last year, right? They were the 4 seed that snuck in and got blasted by T1. You know, they did the teaser. Perfect's like, I'm ready to fix all my mistakes. And then he gets, this is when Doran became a full-time member of the T1 boy band, right? This is when he looked at his shoulder and flicked it off. And I was like, oh my God. Like, he's a rookie. He's a rookie, Doran. Doran doesn't care. Yeah. So KT move on, Dplus KIA. They have to pick up the pieces because they will be going to Paris to play in EWC. Hopefully, they'll find a way to do it, and I am very interested in what those disciplinary actions end up being by Dplus KIA, or if we'll ever find out what it is. Here's the statement. We will take the appropriate internal disciplinary measures regarding the head coach and reinforce communication and professional conduct training to demonstrate meaningful improvement. In addition, we'll implement regular professional training on responsible media engagement and effective communication practices, including the use of personal social media channels. You're telling me, Siwoo, you are the ace of losing. Well done. isn't effective communication practice? I mean, I don't think Siwoo understands. Or
Well,
doesn't get confused.
based on his gameplay in game 4 and
Let's see,
5, I
he
think
thinks
he
it's a
understood
thing.
well.
He's like, yo. He presses tab, notices 8K gold lead. Yo, I'm the ace.
Oh,
The finger crackers.
I got this.
Oh shit. All right. Well, yeah, I will say Siwoo was getting a lot of the focus from Korean fans across FM Korea. I don't think that's fair. Like, I think there were many moments beforehand where Dplus could have used that 11,000 gold lead before it comes to a flip. But that's neither.
dGon, how isn't it fair?
Because fucking put wards down to allow him to split push. Like, or don't try to 1-3-1. Someone say something and just play through your open inhib. Something like that. But instead, they were spread too far out. It was almost like they were playing for the Baron, and then they would use the Baron to end the game. But you're up 11,000 gold with Soul. Like, that's like 14,000 gold. Just fight them. Set up a nice setup and fight them. And to do that, create the vision on the side you're split pushing. And if you're going to play for Baron, then split push on the Baron side. There was no vision on the bottom side of the map where Siwoo was playing. And that's why he gets caught on the bottom side river. It's like, that to me was where I got frustrated for Siwoo after all of it. And we went back and watched it. So
dGon's nicest man on earth, I swear, bro.
He has to be.
He's throwing Siwoo a lifeline. dGon is just an angel on earth, bro.
Yeah, the
God
second
bless
game,
you, bro.
the Mbessa one, I can't help with that one. That one I can't help with, you. But the one before, come on, guys. All right. So Dplus KIA, everything is on fire. That's not the only team in blue. There were multiple teams in blue who fell a little bit short in the West. It's time for a fraud alert and time to check in on Cloud9 and MKOI. Let's dive into it. All right, Jamada, time to get in there. Give us the number as Cloud9 fall to LYON, and it wasn't close. 3 games, it was all that was needed. We didn't even get to the championship rounds in the upper bracket finals. They will go to Arizona. I'm very hopeful that Arizona is rocking. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Please be good. As Cloud9 will play Team Liquid in the lower bracket match in essentially the MSI qualifier, and then the winner of that will play LYON as TL took care of business against FlyQuest, and Cloud9 did not against LYON Gaming. What is the fraudulency here of Cloud9? What'd you make of that series?
You know, I'm starting to feel like the guy.
The guy?
Fell for it award again. You know, fell for it award badge guy. Honestly, my take. Well, you wanted the number first. I'm in 2 minds. It's either a cold hard 0 because this is actually what you should expect from C9, or it's like a straight up 9.5 to 10 because getting 3-0'd in the game states, some of the game states, I would say, they were in, is kind of just, for a team of this caliber that we have seen have incredibly high ceilings, it's actually unforgivable. Like, the drafts were fine. There was no issue. They cannot cope on draft. This was all gameplay, all approach to objectives, all like micro decisions like made. They let themselves down. They like straight up let themselves down, and LYON lapped up everything. They just did what they had to do in front of them a lot of the times. I think the worst really was probably game 2, because I think game 2 they have I mean, maybe it's game one. I'm actually I'm a bit torn on which game frustrates me more because I think game one they have a Ziggs comp and the backline can't really play. But what happens? There's one dragon fight where Berserker gets to glide on their head in the back of the pit, and it was an like actual psycho flash as well. I can't remember if it was the fourth Drake. It was relatively late into the game at this point, not Elder. But they're fighting. I'm not going to say they lose track of Berserker, but the initial dive has already happened, and all of C9 are positioned in the back of the pit. They're fighting in front of the dragon to the like kind of top right of it, or like to the right hand side of it. And Berserker in the bottom tri-bush on blue side flashes into the dragon pit and just fries them for like 2k damage immediately before he dies. But that leaves enough space for the rest of LYON to come and sweep them up. And that was kind of the big turning point moment of that game. And from that point on, I just felt like C9 were going to do the dumbass thing where they just lose the series. Regardless of how it happens, they're just going to lose. And yeah, they got completely ran. I'm not really sure what else to say other than I'm just frankly disappointed at the level of effectively everyone, except for maybe like still Thanatos is like in good grace book, you know. But we saw the worst of C9 in loads of different snippets, right? Whether it was a blabber dive too far forward, whether it was like APA slight mechanical misstep, Sven just random death somewhere, you know. Yeah, I don't know, man. This C9 team is just they don't have the DNA, do they? Like that's just what I'm worrying about is they don't have it in them to just win the series that matters for them.
What's the number?
I said it depends on your lens. If you think this is where what C9 do, and I'm starting to believe this is what they do.
Jamada.
My
your lens.
My
What's
lens,
your lens?
My lens is a fucking 8.5, 9. Like this is ridiculous now. Like I don't even think LYON were leaps and bounds ahead of them. C9 actually made a lot of these games just harder than they had to be for themselves. Just through their own decision making. Through their own inability to just click better. Like they let LYON click better.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like questioning the DNA. Given all the players on this roster, that means, you know, the only one that you kind of wonder about based off the resume would be Thanatos,
Of course,
who is the one that is
collectively
well.
they don't have it right now, do they? Like we actually was like, you know, two times is a coincidence. Like 3 times is gonna end up being the pattern. And there's 3 splits in a year. Right now we're at coincidence territory. And the worst part is I don't even I didn't have a lot of faith in TL to beat FlyQuest. Genuinely. Like I think FlyQuest could have at least taken them to 5 games. Right? I'm worried about them versus a TL that look really shaky. Like I didn't leave the FlyQuest series thinking the FlyQuest TL series thinking that TL are like this threatening top 3 NA team. I left that series thinking, yeah, whoever loses out of LYON or C9 is gonna beat the piss out of these guys. And now I'm starting to rethink that sentiment.
Yamato, what did you make of this series and what do you rate him? And then we can dive into the Cloud9 TL matchup because I like your take here.
I don't know if you guys hear this. There's a plane right outside my window suddenly. Do you hear this?
Nope.
Don't hear it.
All right. Good mic. Good mic. You know, I'm going to be honest. You know, it's like, you know how in school they teach you how plants absorb the sun to get energy, and then herbivores eat the plants, and then carnivores eat the herbivores, and then the carnivores get eaten by bigger carnivores, and then they get decomposed in nature through fungi and through, of course, bacteria and whatever you have it, that then gets absorbed by the plants, and there you have the circle of life. And in this lesson, what we didn't realize at the time when we learned this in 2nd grade is that this can be applied to many things. C9.
Okay.
Good regular split. Ramping up. Beat the #1 opponent in the middle of the split. Exciting stuff. Maybe this time it will be different. They look a little bit different. Damn. Mid-jungle. Carnivore territory. And then playoff arrives. The bigger carnivore shows up. And then they start to decompose. And then the circle starts again. I'm going to give them 0 out of 0. Because this is just the circle of C9. It has to be. It has to happen. It has to exist. I think the only difference, to maybe the past year, is that I think this team is so individually whack that, some of the things that we saw were so inexcusable and so hilarious. Like that moment where APA Ziggs thought he was Michael Jordan in Space Jam doing the last dunk. When his arm is just extending, and he just went into the pit with Ziggs. I don't know what he was looking for there.
Hey, man.
I've never seen anything like it. And then just in every standoff, no one is using their spells. Dokla is just walking on them. And Noct is not like QEing him, hitting him. Like, why is he allowed to walk on us? It's like, this is not, what are we doing, man? And then in game 2, I would say that's the game where I think the draft was kind of off. I think it was a tough game to win over time, regardless. It's like, first picking Karma, what are we doing? But still, even in that game, some of the engage angles, like when they did that Drake and APA, just like flashed over the wall, and we're like, what the hell is going on?
Everyone's trying to leave.
It's a very simple concept that I know Dom taught them, right? It's like if you don't have control over the banana bush and you have to step into the river to do Drake, it's a 50-50. Whoever decides to start the fight is going to be losing because they have to cross into the enemy. Regardless, it's always losing. So you're going to have the inside track to bot lane, and the enemy has the inside track into mid lane. But then APA decides to, he thinks he's MacGyver. He's trying to make something out of nothing. He's flashing over the wall and trying to kill a Nafiri with Mercs when his team is not in the position to do it. And in that same game, the way it ended, it was so hilarious how, like, sure, they were 12k gold behind, but there was like this Annie TP flank where you just see like a ball crossing the screen, and he doesn't even get to, he doesn't show up on screen ever again. So it just looks like this ball just went straight to McDonald's. Like, just like a rocket ship. Now it's just, I think additionally, there's so many things to criticize, but I do think Thanatos and Vulcan were trying to hold it down. I think they played like a decent series. But Sven, the way he died in lane, like how he had an edge against MF, like what on earth was that? Or it just seemed like Blabber, Sven, and APA, like it just felt like they refused to click their buttons. They were frozen up. Like even that moment where MF looked like, I don't know, that was Clint Eastwood, in his prime. Like, what are we doing in that fight? Like, why are we hesitating so much? They can't. It seems like they just don't have the mechanical confidence at all to execute and to actually see why a situation is winning. Because it seems like, they walk out after game 1, and then Dom says, you know what, you got to zone out inspired. And then the game 2, that's all they did. They like just sent everything on inspired. And then it's like after that, they just don't know what to do. It's just John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. They're just confused. Like they need Dom in their ear, like Perma, just fucking micromanaging them like a chessboard. Because I don't know. I actually just think this roster is not good. I just don't think it's good. I think Thanatos, Vulcan, fantastic. I have a deep respect for Sven's career. I think he's one of the like Western ADC, like up there in the conversation of Western ADC goats. But this is simply not working. Like the teams around you just have better rosters, plain and simple, in my opinion.
Like a talent or like
Talent straight.
chemistry together?
Talent straight.
Just...
Like which team are we sending Blabber, Sven, and APA to and improving at the same time? That's a tough question to answer. Very tough question to
That is,
answer.
that is.
The LEC
And
ain't looking here, you know, for the talent, you know. Like we talk about how LEC
yeah,
is farming LCS, the big boys, you know, they're picking up the big names. They're not looking over here. Besides, maybe you know, grabbing a Thanatos, you know. Um, you know, it's just it's tough.
C9
I
shop
think it's a
is
talent
empty.
issue. Yeah.
the hard part is that earlier at one point last year, the league tried to move on from, not last year, a couple years ago, they tried to move on from Sven. Remember? It was Dignitas Sven. He was playing on Dig. And ended up proving himself and being here on this Cloud9 roster. Obviously, the guys that are ahead of him or could be ahead of him are on teams that I think they'd rather be on, in terms of Masu, in terms of Core JJ, and then they had Berserker and they moved on from Berserker, or Berserker moved on. But so it just feels like, all right, then we're a little bit further down
They
the
had Jojo
pipeline
Pune.
here.
Oh, bro, now that I think about it, dGon, damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. They had it,
Jesus.
but
Damn.
wasn't
Damn.
enough. Wasn't enough to hold it together there. As Cloud9, they still got to pick up the pieces here. They have a tournament match to play for MSI and still salvage a lot, right? We were talking about them like their season is over, unlike Dplus KIA, who have to back up and recoup. Cloud9, I believe, have already qualified for EWC as well. Yeah, they're one of the top 3 teams, so they're already there. They will have more games to play in Paris, more games that will matter. But in terms of matching up against Team Liquid, Jamada, I'll let you go in a bit because Yamato had a good premise. It feels a little dicey here now if you're Cloud9, Yamato.
Yeah, honestly, Team Liquid, the main thing that they needed to do, or what I wanted to see from them rather, is just enjoy all the good things you have in life, you know? It's like you live in a house, you have a nice view, but still they were working 16 hours a day, you know, to try, like, for pennies, you know, for pennies. For what reason, you know? For what reason? Just enjoy life. And what I mean with this analogy is they created good game states almost every game they played. But then suddenly they're like, we're gonna try to squeeze this one extra wave, one extra camp, because that's the right thing to do in this moment. If we execute perfectly, we're gonna get away with it and build our lead. But they never do. And the main thing for me was they just needed to streamline their gameplay. Like if this team had a rule, at 1 minute you must have been in, like 1 minute before Drake spawns, you must have based, and you must have you must have based, and then you're clicking mid into Drake. I think they would win so many more games. So many more games. But there's always like some overcomplication where someone stays a little bit longer, and that's in some cases fine. But in that complication, someone else, there's just a chain reaction of things going wrong. But here against FlyQuest, it kind of worked out. I think FlyQuest is a team that, you know, fundamentally, I don't think that the way they approach and play the game is something that is going to last. Because eventually, like, the team that is going to always shoot from the hip and take every fight possible will be, like, very predictable. And a team that is a lot more selective with their fights, which is usually the case. It's like when you go deeper into playoffs in any region, there's always teams become a lot more selective. They understand, like, the patterns of how to win, and they kind of see what's coming. The nuisance of dealing with a team that is very wild in the way they approach things is just there to test your foundation. But if your foundation is strong, it is then facing against the foundation of the team that is creating chaos, and you realize that it's not that strong. I think Flag was a team. Like if we talk about a team that has the talent clearly there, I think that if you could mix C9 and FlyQuest into a machine and merge them together, that would be the best team in the region for sure. If you could merge their strengths somehow. But those machines haven't been invented yet, so we can't do that.
Not yet. As again, Cloud9 not quite safe yet, especially against a more simplified, more streamlined team Liquid. Jamada, how would you rate the chances here of Cloud9 versus TL?
I think there's a good chance that TL beat these guys if the LYON series is anything to go by. That's where I'm at. I feel as though TL. I think a couple of big things. First, I feel like Quid had a very quiet year until the FlyQuest series just gone by. And even in
What
that,
he does.
even in that, he wasn't even really the main character of the TL series. It was still kind of like a mixture of Core, Jose, and Morgan, collectively. Which is, my big concern is the TL, for all of the faults that I have with TL, especially in the most recent weeks, against LYON, against C9, especially, these guys still win and lose as a team. And it's like C9 lose individually and it domino effects into more terrible ass decisions or like things happen, right? I feel like collectively TL at least has the discipline to understand any given circumstance and kind of just let things go, or like just all in and all die on the play. Do you know what I mean? And I when I see C9 all dying on a play, it's not because they all wanted to. If that makes sense. So I don't know. I think this now turns into a series where if C9 don't do some serious recollecting, this is like a 5-game series that is very hard fought and difficult to fend off TL. Because I feel like TL's drafting is back to kind of being creatively acceptable. I think there was a while where like, they were very, very set on the Ashe Seraphine priority. And then like their jungle tier list was very, very rigid and they were very predictable in draft. And I think right now they've gone back to a space where they're comfortable in draft again and they're not just leaning on the same picks because they're just looking at the tier list and they're going, oh, S tier champ available. Okay, time to take that. They're not drafting like that anymore. And I think that level of unpredictability, air quotes unpredictability, is something that C9 are gonna struggle with. Even though, like, I kind of disagreed a little bit, Yamo, when you said like the game 2 draft, like the cut. I think that maybe like Karma First, yes, crazy. I think the overall draft that they landed on was still fine. So that's where I look at the TLC9 series and I say I feel like there could be problems is weirdly through how both of these two teams like to kind of draft on very specific champions or very specific comfort picks. I think the second that those things get stripped away after like the first 2 games, I start to worry a bit for C9 because I think that TL will be very comfortable the deeper that we go into a series. I don't feel the same way for C9.
I wanted to clarify, there is no EWC qualified team yet, as it's only Sentinels who went on that run and won the EWC qualifier.
It's only first place in an A, right?
It's only first place.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy because G2, Carmen Corp, and MKOI, they're all going. JDG, Anyone's Legend, whoever wins, which will probably be BLG. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be Top Esports as well, are going. And then Genji, T1, Hanwha are going, with Dplus KIA more than likely to be the one to go. I mean, yeah, it is. Korea's already locked in as well. So all the heavy hitters are going to be there. And there's only one slot for Cloud9, Team Liquid, or LYON Gaming, as Sentinels nipped that one early. Crazy stuff here in the LCS. We'll see how it all shakes up next weekend in a couple days. Another team in the West who need to be on alert here, which, I don't know, Yamato might be able to do the same circle of life gymnastics is MKOI. Because, as you perfectly remembered and went down memory lane, he was on Cloud9, now at MKOI, has accomplished some things, but then falls short here. They will not be going to MSI. They do qualify for EWC through their EMEA qualifiers, so does have international plans lined up for later. But MKOI just bodied by KC. Like, Busio did his like little in-series interview. Didn't look like he was sweating at all. like at all. Kept talking about the tactics, was memeing about the tactics, the team fight tactics, and they get pushed aside. MKOI just, they don't got it. They don't got it. That to me, Jamada, is a team that where I'm like, this DNA, I believe you. The Cloud9 DNA based off their resume, it just feels hard to make sense of. But the MKOI one, I can kind of see that one.
Well, I'm not surprised by the result at all. I told you guys what was gonna happen. KC have these guys' number. Now, granted, the journey in which we took to get there, that was obviously the crazy part. I didn't think MKOI were just gonna effectively just capitulate. Like there wasn't really was there from the second minion spawned in any game? Did it feel like MKOI were gonna win? Besides
Not
maybe
really.
like you could maybe say like the early game ish of game one, because the game state I think going into mid game was still relatively even. Super was accelerated enough. Like maybe you could play on Caitlyn, but you know that's still kind of difficult versus Rumble, Nico, Skarner, all of those kind of annoying ass tools when you yourselves like the MKOI drafts were a bit, or at least the MKOI draft of that game was not really a Caitlyn draft. It was like, oh, we have Caitlyn Karma, and then the rest of our top side wants to absolutely obliterate the backline of KC that kind of doesn't exist because all of KC want to move forward as a unit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit lost for thought here. It just very, very strange to see such a massive underperformance, specifically from Jojo, right? This guy has been so consistent throughout the entire year, right? And remind you, I'm the Jojo hater guy. I was really surprised to see him show up and play like how he did throughout a lot of this series, which also lends me to just quickly say, we said that Yahoo has been a passenger for a majority of this like split in year, and he has. This series, the G2 series as well, which I will touch on, really like happy that Yahoo had like stamped his authority in some capacity on these series, because otherwise, I think we would be leaving going to MSI with still questions about or a lot of questions about Yahoo. But yeah, I just don't really have too many like deep thoughts other than, again, KC have had these guys' number, but to see like no big El Yoyo step up, no like kind of moment of breath of like trying to slow down the game, right? Because it's not like MKOI haven't won a title before; they have. It was super bizarre. And then to go out on a Yasuo draft, with Annie top. I tweeted about it, guys. Malphite's a champion. We need to start. Like that champion would have ran that game.
Yeah.
Just FYI, I was super like. I always say it, Merwin, give this guy like weird, wacky champions, but the spots that they do it in sometimes just feel bad. And this is like another example of, unless Merwin was just 4-man ults just off cooldown every time his flash is up, he wasn't going to do anything on this Annie pick. So it was just very lackluster, all in all, from MKOI.
What do you rate the scale, and then we'll go to Yamato.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of at. It's slightly lower because they've lost to KC so many times lately. I'll give it like a 7. But if this was like Raw and they hadn't played KC in a little while, I could easily rate this higher.
Yeah. Yamato, MKOI just can't get over the hump here against KC. And so KC moving on to their first MSI ever. What did you make of the series?
I think that the main thing that stood out was over this week, I think that KC made the biggest improvements that they've made all year. Very simple in terms of how they play their mid jungle. That was evidently something that finally clicked. Mid jungle support actually finding timings around mid. I've talked about how important this is, and we had back-to-back games where they managed to get first blood, of course, on Jodipune, which is a very, very important detail, where Jodipune is more used to being able to play free. And obviously, he overextended in many moments in the Kali game, for example. But I think he's a lot more accustomed against KC to play with a freer range. There's a reason why the last time they face off, why Jodipune managed to actually solo kill Kiahu a couple of times, right? It's because he had that freedom. He came into the series expecting that same freedom, but KC didn't give him any of that. The timings that Yak was on mid lane together with Super were extremely on point. And on top of that, I think that the additional layer of improvement is that KC have moved away from playing this outdated, trashy 1-3-1, where your solo laners are playing in a way to kind of build their own lead and try to kind of squeeze out an extra wave on side that works depending on your strength. And in that sequencing, G2 in the past would always punish them, kill them on side, and so forth. But you saw in this series what Kiahu and, of course, Kana did every time they had any free time. They just used their free time into mid, whether it was to search for a flank or any type of poke on support, any type of trap. They actually played a game where they played together. Because suddenly, when these things are in motion, suddenly your mid lane can contribute a lot more in the early game. He can put deeper wards, he can roam, he can hover. Same thing for how your ADC plays on the mid wave. We've seen many moments where Kalist like dies on the mid wave, right? But that also happens because he needs to take a risk every mid wave that he plays because he never had the support around mid by his solo laners. So KC, I think that they made a lot of macro adjustments that kind of removed MKOI's strength into the KC matchup, because when it came to team fighting and laning, we knew that KC was better. But in the in-between with how they play with Elyoya and how they kind of coordinate these details, this is where they're supposed to be better. And in some games, Elyoya could almost like keep up with the ganks that he set up, almost. But Jodipune didn't really adjust how he played against KC with their improvement and was giving up first blood a little bit too easy. And I think with that in mind, I think KC, for me, MKOI, even though Jodipune, you could say that he underperformed, I think that MKOI just fought against a KC that improved so much. And that to me is the biggest detail. I don't think MKOI is fraudulent. I'm going to give them a 0 here. I think plain and simple, KC just got a lot better. And even for that Game 3 draft, I kind of liked it. I think like matchup-wise, you have Kokinami versus Yunara, and then you have Annie into Cannon, which is winning. I don't know, my voice is giving up. I'm getting sick. Yasuo and Twisted Fate also winning matchup. I think at that point, MKOI was just playing against a team that was way better than them. I think that draft you simulated, I think it's giga winning for the MKOI side many times, any day of the week. But I think MKOI just got worse. Like they just didn't have the team fight execution, and they didn't have the the skill to actually beat KC on the day.
Yeah, I think that's you were teasing me earlier about being a saint and giving Siwoo a pass. I think you're being easy on MKOI here, where you get to this point and it felt like they didn't execute too much, and then the Annie draft. I go back to what Jamada said there. Your points about KC being better are true as well. Like KC did look better. Obviously, that ran into the finals against G2, and we'll touch on it here. No, we'll touch on it later. So 0 from Yamato, 7 for Jamada, and the Cloud9 1, 0 out of 0. the way of life for Yamato, and a 8.5 for Jamada. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the fraudulency of Cloud9 and MKOI. And while you're there, like and subscribe. A lot of you liked my read from last week on Father's Day, or about Father's Day, where I kind of lost it. That's my transition into this week's read. It's time for you to hear a message from our friends by Raycon. Now, if you're still figuring out what you want to get for the dad in your life this Father's Day, I've got you covered. And so does Jamada. And so does Yamato. Raycon's essential open earbuds have been a total game changer for me And honestly, it feels like it was made for dads, whether he's walking outside, puttering around the yard, or someone who's never really indoors. These are going to get used. The open ear design is what will get you hooked. You can have music or podcast going and still hear everything around you, which is just makes being outside so much more enjoyable without feeling checked out. It's that rare gift that's practical and something that he'll reach for every single day. And if this has you wanting a pair for yourself too, now's a great time because they're 15% off. Raycon has over 3 million customers, and the sound quality is just as good as the other expensive brands. And if you don't like them, they have a 30-day guarantee. Again, you see me, I'm always rocking my Raycons. I found the blue ones, I have the rose gold ones as well. Now, make sure to head on over to buyraycon.com/powerspikeopen to get 15% off. Upgrade your dad's everyday routine by heading over to buyraycon.com/powerspikeopen to get 15% off. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon. Again, they're great. I can't suggest them enough. Make sure to check it out. All right. Time for some Galaxy Brain Club and the LPL Dream Run. Is it over? Will it end? Every time WE wins, it says we win. But will they win? That's
Damn, boss.
And then if LCK, we did some cvMaxing to the topic last week. I didn't let you completely finish there on talking about Hanwha, T1, and Genji, but now, Yamato, we can do that in this week's Galaxy Brain Club. It's the LPL and LCK, and we'll touch on G2's Dynasty. Let's dive into it. Let's start in the LPL, where BLG have burned through the competition and taken care of JDG. Tabe and the young boys fall short, as well as the Anyone's Legend squad. Tarzan and those guys were getting early leads against BLG. They put so much focus into stopping Viper in game 2, and Viper still had massive impact because he was playing Senna. And then in game 3, they still get an early lead, and they just roll over there. BLG are on a mission to make it to MSI and continue the golden road. On the opposite side, WE, they were in a slobber knocker against Top Esports, but Top Esports handled them pretty straightforward. And now you kind of wonder if the WE hype train might be done and dusted. It might be over. So let's dive into that. Yamato, how do you view how the LPL playoffs will shake out here? What's happened so far, and then what is your prediction for this upcoming weekend?
I think WE, of course, was the big the big freak show that messed everything up in terms of how the bracket played out. But I think in terms of where we were at from last week, and in terms of how everything played out, I think everything makes sense so far. I did make the point that Top Esports looks very different from past. Like everyone is there, oh, Top Esports making it international. No. It's not the same if it's not the Kanavi Top Esports. Kanavi Top Esports is very different. I made the analogy with the cage, where he like brings the jungler in and just like beats the shit out of him. And like if you don't go in there, then he's just alone in a cage. They made that analogy, and it still sticks. But for Top Esports now, they're a very different team. They're very well-rounded. Cream is playing better than ever, and the newcomers in Zuyan and Fengyue are just good. They're really damn good. So Top Esports, very well-rounded team. Them beating WE after what they showed against JDG, I think is rational, because definitely WE is the type of team where the more you know, the better. Because definitely there's like key pieces that make their drafts make sense. They have very clear role players on this team, and I think with more information, it's easy to prepare against, because definitely WE was underestimated before. BOG is not going to underestimate WE at all. That's not going to happen. I doubt that. BOG, after they just swept AL, they didn't look uncomfortable at all. I think the main issue that AL always face is that solo laners just can't keep up. They can't. They play that Jace Rise draft, and you just know, okay, Bin is on Jace, and you have, of course, Knight on Rise. I know they're gonna be 30 CS up. Your bot lane can die. You can kill them 50 times. Hope ain't gonna do shit. Hope is not gonna carry when he's 5-0. He's not gonna carry when he's 10-0. If he plays Sivir, maybe a Jinx in some spots when Tabe pets on his head before he goes into the Rift, maybe. But you know, it's not even it's not even the fact that Hope has had like a bad year or a bad split. I think he's been one of the better players for AL. It's just that I've seen this story far too many times where when it's crunch time, I feel like Hope and Shanks aren't the carries that you want on the team, and everything kind of falls on can Tarzan make it happen or not. And I think that in terms of firepower in the individual department, the firepower, Billy is just too good there, and that's why the roster is just goated and broken. So in terms of how the rest of the bracket will shake up, I think BOG is going to kick out WE, no problem. And I think that the finals, if it gets to there, BOG versus Top Esports, I think that might be a 5-game banger, but I think BOG is going to take it home. I think the depth is just a little bit too scary, and I think BOG is what G2 is for, of course, the LPL, in the sense that even though we might see like, oh, there's some flaws here, BOG, they look kind of bad, they dropped against WE, they might just walk into that finals and just 3-0 and just play better than they did the entire split, because that's the capacity they have as players, and due to the credibility they've just built, where in between the span of a week, they can just ramp up and become the absolute best in every position in the league. So that's how I expect LPO to play out.
I guess is it a golden road if they don't win LPL? No, right? They have to win LPL.
They have to win LPL.
Whew. That's tough. I mean, you know, again, from a logistics standpoint, it's tough, but as Yamato has said, they seem to be inevitable. They've got that Cloud9 are missing, and they've shown it time and time again, and have lost. When they would lose in the respectable position. And now they have started the winning here with first stand and that opening split. Jamada, what do you make of BLG, and then how do you think this playoffs are going to shake up?
Yeah, it just feels like losing to WE. Like this is like a very niche and low key corny like thing to bring up, but like if especially if you're younger, if you ever used to watch like power scale, when people talk about like power scaling characters in different shows, and they'll be like, oh, but if this guy's bloodlusted, like he's gonna do stupid stuff, and that's what it feels like BLG losing to WE did to BLG. They've just been angry the entire lower bracket run, and it's just been no nonsense for the most part against every team they've come up against. And I feel like the rematch versus WE is unfortunately going to be the same way. And they're going to walk into the cage collectively, and they're going to drag WE into the cage and then lock it, and then throw the key away, and then ensure that they're not going anywhere, and they're going to beat the ever-living piss out of them. Yeah, it's everything that Yamato said, to be honest with you. They have built up that same G2 level credibility where it's very, very difficult to doubt them. Even when circumstances, you know, like an upset versus WE do happen. And yeah, like I haven't felt like any team in the lower bracket that they've come up against, expectation wise, before the series happened, I was like, yeah, nah, you know, like maybe they're gonna lose. I thought they were gonna 3-0 AL. I didn't think it was gonna play out the way it did, but I thought that was gonna happen. I've just not really had a lot of faith in AL this spring. And the JDG series, I think we all kind of collectively agree that JDG have lost a little bit of flair, because it feels like they're not trying to be a team for themselves. That they've specced into trying to be the anti-BLG team, because BLG is the team you have to beat to win the LPL. And they just, in that, they've kind of lost a sense of themselves.
I like that. So I like the way that you phrase that in terms of specced into it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know. I could very easily see. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion. W are like Thanos in Endgame, when he doesn't know that the Infinity Stones have been taken by Tony, right? And he tries to snap that. Like that's what's gonna happen in this series versus BLG. The W are gonna try and snap their fingers. Monkey's gonna try and snap his fingers. Oh no, where are all the Infinity Stones? and it's just been all night just staring at them. Here's another 15 kill game. Enjoy. Like that's what's gonna happen. It's just gonna be a backshot session. This
Woo!
series.
All right. Easy
and then-
there, cvMax.
well, I could get freakier. No. BLG Top Esports. I think it's a little less interesting. Weirdly, like I think that WE Top Esports, the reason why Top Esports could do what they did against WE is because unlike the other top teams, I think Top Esports are very, very like a lot of their game plans since TN has been on this roster have been uniquely driven through the jungle, right? Like it is a lot of the like mass of their overall game plans often are kind of driven through TN to some degree, right? Like he's always tied into whatever it is. That with like a pretty big underperformance, I think, relative to the AO and BLG series from Monkey, helped create that series. I feel like there's a chance that maybe WE have a certain level of freedom that they weren't granted in the Top Esports series again, but the solo laners on WE are not named Bin and Knight, right?
That's true.
That like even if you manage, okay, let's say we go bot, we run bot, like the bot side of the map, Viper and On get put in a hole. Will Karis and Cube survive another best of 5 versus Bin and Knight? I feel like that kind of lightning striking twice is very low chance.
Yeah.
And that was my stance last week too. I think if WE didn't beat Top Esports when they meet BLG in this lower bracket, they were going to get their heads kicked in, and this is where my head is still at now. Yeah, it should be a BLG spring win here. I can't see Top Esports beating them too many times. But again, BLG are a very, very variable team. They could come in really low. They could ramp up inside the course of a series. They're a freaky team. They're just like G2. So I would always hedge my bets on BLG winning that series. But yeah, it's one where at least now Top Esports, if there was ever a time to win another split, it would be now. It would be fun.
Let's take a moment to celebrate G2, who get the job done yet again in 5 games. This time on the back foot after 3, down 2-1. And it was massive performances by SkewMond in the end on the Pantheon in game 4 and pulling out the Nasus in game number 5. As Chad is saying, they're scheduled trophy claiming. They always find a way to get it done. They do so yet again for what feels like the bajillionth time. I think now, what was the stat that was floated? It was Broken Blade ties Mickey with the same amount of championships won, and I think the amount of kills that the Pantheon has now surpasses Yanko's for the most in the league. It just felt like there was history made yet again by how good they are, and they have been. And they are making progress. Again, they beat Gen G, they beat BNK Fearex, they finished second, and are ramping up as this core continue to do so. It's just fantastic to watch Yamato. Caps continue to innovate itself. The team changing some parts in Yike, and in Labrov, but still having that core and maintaining the same G2 vibe that they've always had.
I think in any team, honestly, any team, anything that just is in competition with other people, that manages to bring in other people, other players, like whether it's a company, whether it's any other team sport too, and you bring in people and you manage to instill in them what makes your history so impressive. I think that is just the proof of a very, very strong culture. And it's very rare that we can say that because so many things change with League of Legends teams. I think T1 is another one, right? It's like the fact that Doran joined this team and won a world championship speaks to the powerful force that is T1. And then there's always the question of like, oh, it was Gumayushi a big part of that force? We will find out at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
We will find out at the end of the year, but there is not a lot of examples of exactly that. The teams tend to revamp, teams tend to try to build something up, and they try to, especially like now in the LEC, we have teams that are trying to get there. I think KC, MKOI, obviously like insanely good additions to the league. Like just think for a moment if the LEC it still had Astralis and Rogue, and KC didn't get in, and let's say Ibai with Rogue just got sick of League of Legends because the whole Rogue situation was ass. Imagine what the LEC would be. It would be LCS. No, but it would be a mess.
Wow.
Nah. With that being said, though, I think G2, the fact that, even last year when they brought in Labrov, uh, they brought in SkewMond. I thought SkewMond for Yike, I thought that Yike had kind of found he had plateaued on G2. Not plateaued as a player, but plateaued on G2. And bringing in SkewMond made sense. Labrov for Mickey X, that was a very, very scary one. In the beginning, it was scary too, because in those finals, they lost one against Casey, lost one against MKOI, and they could not, get over that hump, no matter how much better they looked than everybody. But with patience and time, eventually it got into place. Now we're in a situation where, for the longest time, I've always liked Labrov. I always thought that he was a great player, but never elite at like the Mickey Hilly range. But now we're in a situation where, looking at this year, Labrov, to me, I think that he is just the strongest support in the region. Dumont, best player in the region. So while we can talk about Caps and BB and Hans and how much they contribute to the team and how important they are to the core and the continuity of this team, the fact that the two newcomers are playing as good as they are speaks once again to the organizational strength of this organization. Like the fact that the coaching staff, the GM, everything is in place, and it seems like every decision they take is with such strong conviction. And I have a true appreciation for that, because we see that more often in traditional sports. But even in traditional sports, the coach gets sacked sometime. Everything gets kind of falling apart because everything is so results oriented, and it's all about the optics, especially in esports. And to see someone doing it the right way is always going to bring me joy. And I'm happy it brings the results too, because sometimes doing all the right things might not bring you the results instantly. So God bless G2, man. They are really, really a great example for all teams.
I liked your point in terms of they would be NA because the league would be NA. Because when there was true belief that NA was better than EU, it was when they placed higher and beat G2, right? That is how strong the standard has been set by this squad, by this organization for such a long time. And that included through, as you said, the changes of players, the changes of some coaching staff with Duffman moving on. The CEO moved on, and still they found a way to persist and continue on and hold that standard and achieve that level of success. So as people might get tired of the story, I think you have to tip your cap to what they've been able to create. Jamada?
Shout out G2, man. I don't really have anything new or groundbreaking to say here. I think the fact that the changes have panned out the way that they have over I think especially I would say the last, like the back end of summer, and then obviously a lot of this year, um, has been nothing short of sensational. And I think also the fact that we ended up getting that kind of, the reveal, the hard launch, if you will, of Perks being a part of the coaching staff now, technically, as kind of what seems like, I don't want to say a positional coach, but that's kind of what it seemed like. But then we had an interview from Hans basically saying that he was also working on us with our communication, being on the same page, I think was the main thing. And I think especially, you know, a lot of this since like winter, you can see that more now than ever. The one of the big critiques that we had last year about G2 was you know, SkewMond and Labrov as a pair linking up together consistently. Um, that's something that we see all of the time now. So it really makes you wonder, like, how much of an impact does, you know, the kind of secondary, tertiary, depending on who you may rate in Europe's history's GOAT, has been having on this G2 lineup. So just very exciting to watch the evolution of this team. And I think we should all be excited for G2 at MSI because yeah, they already proved it. They could kick it with the best of the best.
Yep.
The core that has been here for the last 5 years in Hans or longer, BB and Caps. They've been on teams where even though yes, like maybe results or Wells didn't go their way or MSI, they've always been inside of these individual series. Yeah, these guys could beat T1, or yeah, these guys could beat Gen G. Before this year. And I think this is now maybe looking like one of the more threatening iterations, if not the most threatening iteration of G2, uh, potentially since 2019. Like I wouldn't. I don't think that's a hot take to say now. I think
No.
there's a real chance that that's the level that this G2 team could be at.
It's because they're proving it, and it feels like there's still more left in the tank. Congratulations to G2 again for their groundbreaking success that they've had in the LEC. We'll see them at all the events, MSI and EWC. Speaking of MSI and who we're going to see, we do have one region left to hammer that home with, and that is the LCK that we haven't talked about yet, at least. That is the LCK. Jamada, who's going to MSI from LCK? Let's be straightforward here. Start from the ending and work our way backwards since you like to Chris Nolan it every now and then. Christopher Nolan it.
Genji and H-Lee.
Whoa. All right,
Genji and
work our way
H-Lee.
backwards. How are we getting there?
Genji and H-Lee. I don't know. I've just look. Do I think that T1 is probably the strongest looking team out of all three of these teams right now? Yeah. I do. No, I do. I do. I think
okay, I was like, where are we going with this?
no, I do. I think when they're on form, and right now I think they're quite in form. I mean, it's fucking T1, guys. I don't need to I don't need to do a long spiel for T1. I just feel like things feel so good for them that this might finally be the time where they trip up and they don't actually meet an expectation that we all expect them to meet. I think they're due a loss. I think they're due like I think they're due a loss. This is kind of just where my head's at. In a very similar way to how I felt like DK were due a win versus KT. This is where I'm at with T1. Yeah, I do feel like HLE shouldn't lose to T1 in this qualification match. I think the differences specifically in top, and I think in bot just through Gruma should be enough to get them over the line. I think the fact that this team is very much and has been now for the entirety of round 1 and 2 in sync with the Kanavi train, right? They fight together, they die together. I think has been a huge advantage to them since they've actually managed to. It's not even. We were having the conversation in winter about whether or not they're going to reign in Kanavi or whether they're going to join Kanavi, right? And they've done that successfully. I feel as though if Ona is on a mediocre day, it's run over season for Kanavi. Like HLE will do them one sweet. Because I feel like if you can't unlock the map for Keria to, you know, actually link up with Ona and with Faker, then you have problems. And then again, the issue still for me is that top lane matchup. So I feel like HLE will beat T1. I don't have to say why I feel like Genji will beat KT, yeah? Like we're just all same frequency.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's fine.
cool.
We can skip past that.
We can hop past that. And then at that point, it's Gen G T1, lads. Fucking anything, you know, like genuinely anything can like it could be 3-1 T1, and we'll be like, yeah, pretty fucking surprising. But at the end of the day, it's T1. It could be 3-0 Gen G. We'll be like, well, surprising that T1 didn't actually put up a game on the board. But at the end of the day, it's Gen G. And I think that level of variance is why I'm actually very much I believe it. I believe T1 will not make this MSI. I think they're due not making you know, an air quotes important international. This is the one. I think Gen G and HLE will edge out here.
There's normally I agree. Usually when it's, you know, someone's due, you go with that. But there's one team who
Oh yeah. No,
just
I
haven't
know,
been paying rent.
but it's not
They
well.
haven't
But
been
it's not
paying
well.
rent.
Listen,
Rent's
it's not
past
Worlds.
due, and
It's not Worlds. It's not Worlds. It's not Worlds. It's not Worlds. Right? When was the last time
Yeah.
these guys didn't go to MSI? It's been a fucking hot minute, hasn't it?
2021?
It has been.
Question mark? Yeah, I think it's
That sounds
2021.
right.
I'm checking.
That sounds right.
Uh,
That sounds correct because finals was them and RNG in 22. MSI
Yeah.
23 they were there. 24 they were there. Obviously last year they were there. They came second. 21 sounds right.
2021. It was Dplus KIA and who was the other team from LCK? Korean #1. It was just one team. Yeah, it was Dplus KIA that went. That's crazy.
Yeah, no,
job, me.
they're due. They're due. It's been 5 years of MSI. It's time for a different shakeup. It's time for T1 to not be present at MSI.
All right, we're due for a Yamato take. Yamato, who's going?
I just want to say, because you like 2021 Dplus brought me back. You know, I saw a comment that pissed me so much off, where someone wrote, unironically, Dplus need to get Beryl back into the team so he can shot call.
I know. I saw that one too.
Bro, the community takes on Beryl, bro. Like 2021 MSI, go watch what Beryl did there. Go watch what he did at Worlds. Go watch what he did in the regular splits. Go watch, you know, Showmaker, why his soul is so hurt? Because of Beryl, man. He cheated on. No, they were not in a relationship. But he destroyed that team. They could have had an MSI, could have had a Worlds. And if anyone ever suggests Beryl, bro, the last time Beryl was on D+, this team had no macro. Bro, he's a shot caller. Bro, they're doing goofy shit. I remember, like, DK had to win games while he is 0-7 on Elise. And then I'm like, look, he's just griefing. And people are like, yeah, but he's shot calling, though. Hey, hey, hey. It's like, bro, D+ never had macro because of this dude. Anyhow, LCK.
Just also just real quick, there's in Chijijik, which is like the Korean Twitch, there's like a Legends tournament going on. There's 2 Korean teams and 1 EU team. EU team is Huni, Yankos, Nemesis, Reckless, and Wadid. They played up against the Korean Legends, or no, the Chijijik team. So the streamers, that is Kuve, Ambition, Tempt, Bang, and Beryl. And Bang and Beryl got blasted by Reckless and by Wadid, dude. Like, he's still doing it.
Might be real after all.
All right, go ahead. What we got here with our LCK tickets for MSI?
Yeah, I'm on the I don't know. I think T1's got it. I think T1's got it. I think Genji's got it. I think this is gonna be HLE's
You think they're gonna collapse again?
No, I think it's gonna be their humiliation ritual. But I just think as long as, because the key detail for me is, which I'm going off of very little because Owner just ramped up at the end of the season, right? He had a very, very good end of the season, and if that continues, perfect, because that's what we need. That's what they need. I think that to me is going to be like the big difference maker. I think jungle and support is just so crucial in the current meta. And the main question will be if Doran and, of course, Faken can stabilize. Because I think that's like the counter argument, right? Zeka and Zeus, the ZZ top side, is just very dangerous, especially against a T1 solo lane that hasn't been super effective. But I do think that the meta shift up, like Cassiopeia being higher power, Anivia being higher power, like Faker's tapping into some ancient roots here, you know, like it's like, yeah, I have 52 games played on Casio, no problem, you know. There's a little dust off the shoulder. I just let me pick that. Twisted Fate, oh, I got that, no problem. You know, it's like this is the meta shakeup. I think is very good for Faker, and I think that in regards to Doran, yeah, that's like the main concern, right? Like they need to figure out a way to incorporate him into the game, but you can see globally with a bigger focus on grubs, there's actually like lane swap action happening. So that just gives you a lot more agency through bot lane, and you can take Zeus out of his element because you don't want to keep him in isolation. And with these things being said, I think it's going to be a damn close series. Like, even though I predict T1, I think HLE still have a lot of great things going on for them. I think either one that gets sent into the bottom side of the bracket, I think will get eaten alive by Genji. I think that Rulers had a quiet split, and I think you can say the same for Canyon. You can say the same for Mr. Blanking on the support name. Why am I blanking? Help me out. Duro. I think they've had a relatively quiet split, but I think in terms of how they ended and how Canyon is ramping up, I do think that we're seeing glimpses of the old Genji. I think the old Genji is still above and beyond just too strong. And as the fact that they get to warm up a little bit, I think is also a good thing. I'm thinking T1 and Genji make it. I think it's just something in the air, you know, something in the air. But if you want tangible analysis, I do think just the ramp up of both Honor and Canyon is going to bring these teams back to their OG heights.
Damn. I'm at the point where I want to trust Hanwha, and I am going to trust Hanwha to get it done. And I think it's T1 over Gen G because I picked them until not, right? This isn't a finals, so I don't think Gen G has their domestic magic here. It's not for a championship. But I don't think teams can prepare for the Kanavi treatment. Right? They know what's going to happen. They know the cage exists. They're ready for the punches, but they're not ready for the Kanavi punches. And the other thing that I think tips it over the edge is that the meta is moving closer towards engaged supports, which is going to unlock Delight to just be able to play a little bit better. He had that time on the bench behind... Oh, I can't remember the support that they subbed in, but the #1 rated player in solo queue, who was also the support, got some games in with Gumayushi, and he got to see the game from a further back angle. So I'm just excited to see
Bluffing.
the great matches that is there.
So many storylines, though. T1 actually, like the amount of storylines at play here. You have Kanavi versus T1, him fighting his demons. You have Gumayushi versus T1, Zeus versus T1, you know, Doran versus HLE, his old team. You know, there's just so much narratives in the same game that just insane. So many world champions in the same game, you know. It's like, you don't have a championship, you know, like go fuck yourself. You don't get to eat at this table. And you just see like
Wait, Delight is actually the only person in this.
No.
It's Pays too.
Oh, Pays. Yeah. But Jesus.
And kind of
8 out of 10 is crazy.
Yeah.
8 out of 10 is crazy.
So again, just a very, very exciting matchup to be played in front of all those fans in Wonju. It's going to be a great time. There's so much awesome league. Like we grind through week 5 LCK, LPL, week 4 LEC to get to this moment. We grind through. Who was it?
And then we
One
go
team
to
that didn't
MSI
get to
and play
play?
China.
Yeah. And then we play China. It'll be the best teams, some of the best, if not the best. And where the league goes, not my fault. The democratic process made it happen. And then we'll crown ourselves another champion until Worlds comes. I need to not do that shit. All right.
You're trying to get me killed.
I will say it's a good party trick. If you got time, just watch one of the interviews. Maybe some would say more than one.
dGon.
Gotta do the hands.
Oh my god.
The hands.
Time to get out of here.
It's not a democratic system. It's a 10-team system, and you can't get in. You have a 10-team system. There's no choices now. I'm joking.
Oh my god, dude.
This is it's closed.
Yeah.
If I wanted to make
Lots
my
of-
own team, I couldn't.
Lot- Jeez. Lots of well, you did try to make your own team.
Yeah. Why?
Lots of great matches coming up here in the future. We'll have it all covered here on Power Spike. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.